Hey, this is Tanya. Welcome to Girl Call Me, the podcast for, by, and about Black women. We hope you enjoy today's conversation as we chat about all things health, relationships, and life. We'll have you laughing, testifying, and most importantly, feeling seen and whole as the beautiful Black woman you are. Now on to the nonsense. This is Girl Call Me. This is a podcast that we just started, and we can talk a little bit later about why we started it. But talking a little bit about myself, I think I've been saying early 50s or late 40s for a while. And life is different. My body is different. How I've thought about things are different in many ways post-pandemic. I think prior to pandemic, I was kind of running. I was ripping and running, as they say, traveling and really not thinking about my body or how much I was sleeping or what I was eating or maybe the pains in my back. I would just keep going. I think the pandemic made me reflect a bit and forced me to reflect a bit on mind, body, and spirit because I was going through so much internally, navigating. I would call myself either hypervigilant or hypochondria. It just depends on who the person is who's calling it. And so, I had to stop and I had to look at the fact that I wasn't sleeping enough, looking at the fact that I'm overweight, think about the fact that I'm entering and in peri or probably close to menopause and things are different for me. And so, a general response from a doctor that say, oh, you're fine, just, you're just stressed. It really doesn't work anymore when you're 52 and you're looking at your life and making sure that you're going to have the longest life possible.
Okay, so who am I? Oof. Jessica, 40 years old, dealing with some hormonal stuff that I can't even put my finger on, so we'll come back to that later in the season. But I think for me, this health journey, I'll call it, that I've been on, I'm in a new chapter. And growing up, my perceptions of healthcare and taking care of yourself were emergency based. Mm. When something happens to you, I broke a lot of bones when I was a kid. When you break a bone, you're going to go to the hospital and you're going to go see the doctor. I had surgery, tonsils out. This is a problem. You need to go get it fixed. So very clear challenges, issues, go to the doctor. My parents didn't really go for preventative care. And the stories I've told myself about the people who've passed away in my life and my family have been kind of, they dropped dead. It's an emergency. Something happened. Someone went to the hospital. They're gone. My family was not big on medications. My parents didn't take medications when we were kids. And so for me, health has always felt like it's something I need to pay attention to when something feels wrong, not something I need to kind of proactively be looking into. And I balance that for much of my life because I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac. And so not focusing on it is a little easier for me because when I start focusing on preventative care, it can get a little unwieldy. And so where I am now in my life is understanding that you can focus on preventative care without spinning yourself out of control. And that actually is being kind to yourself and being thoughtful and honest with yourself, thinking through where do I want to be in the next 10 years and what am I doing today and where do I need to get to so that I can ensure that happens. And that's what's helped me open up more in conversations about health. It's helped me talk to other people. It's helped me advocate for myself more with doctors and also relinquishing control because I don't have it and I have good ideas about what I should be doing, but I also have the resources to pull a team of people together who care about me to help me get there. Working order it can be. So I think for me, this chapter of my life is about doing just that, opening my eyes and getting rid of the shame. COVID happening kind of lowered the barriers to the type of people you'd have more personal healthcare conversations with. We also work in healthcare.
Right.
So I think the combination of working from home, less human interaction, so there also you have this barrier that goes down that maybe in person we wouldn't have talked about something, but now I'm over Zoom, feels more comfortable. Everyone's talking about where they're at with their healthcare because of vaccines and this and that and interactions and who's getting COVID worse and pre-existing conditions. And I think the conversation, it was an opening,
Right.
Not one that any of us wanted, but it was an opening for us to start having more conversations about health. I don't even know if comfortable is the right word, but maybe just more often. 'Cause I don't talk to people at my job about health. I really don't even talk to my friends about health like that. But I think when COVID happened,
Mhm.
it was like, suddenly I know when you're getting vaccines.
Right.
And I know when you're not feeling well. And I know that if you don't know who to get your vaccine from because you're checking with a doctor and I'm like, you have a cardiologist? What are you talking? Why do you have that? So I think for me, the conversation around my health became a little bit easier because we were talking so much about it with COVID. I started seeing cardiologists during COVID, and I feel like I didn't know anyone else who went to specialist doctors. I wasn't ready to talk to anyone about it. And so maybe and I think you and I just started talking.
Yeah, and I think there is something about the pandemic and what would have normally been violating someone's privacy because
Right.
now, and then there was a lot of conversation about who was dying more. And so, Black people, Latinx, that was what we were talking about. We were talking about Black people were dying at a higher rate than any other population.
Yeah.
And I think we started finally having that dialogue about our health.
Right.
And the why. Yeah. And then I think fast forward a bit to today. There's been a lot of conversation about Black maternal health, a lot of conversation about, menopause in Black women and heart disease and cancer. I mean, when you look at the statistics, that 40% Black women are more likely to die of breast cancer at a 40% rate than white women.
Right.
Then and that's not because we were getting breast cancer more. It's only because we are not being taken care of.
Right.
That there is a huge problem.
Yeah.
And who's looking out for us and who's taking care of us. And so, we talk about professionally needing a board and advisors and supporters and so on. But we need that with our health.
Yeah.
Do you have a cardiologist that's checking? Do you have an endocrinologist if you have inflammation? And I have a naturopath. I didn't have a naturopath before that was helping me make sure that I wasn't taking a bunch of drugs, that I was looking at also things in a holistic way, because I tend to want to be natural about everything. Right. And so, we are not, obviously we're not claiming to be experts, but we are
certainly not.
We're not. But what we are is people who are have been struggling, struggling, and we hope with this podcast we will bring some good voices, some expert voices that will be able to help Black women navigate not just health, because I think we plan to really venture on a few other topics as well.
Once you start unpacking it, even the people with the most resources in our lives, intellectual resources, financial resources, whatever, everyone seems like they're a little haphazard about it.
Right.
No one actually, I think that came out too when we started talking about Black women and health, is like everyone's going at it their own way, piecing things together, trying to figure out, because we know what's not happening is you're going to a physician who understands anything about you.
Mm-mm.
So what happens then is we take a step back and it's like, okay, well, fine, let me figure this all out myself. And I think it's been for me personally, and I know some other people, a real rude awakening of like, you're not going to be able to do this by yourself. Okay. Like, you have a lot of information and you know what to ask, maybe in some doctors, but maybe some others you don't. Everything seems to be a symptom of something. So you're going to hit a roadblock, and you're going to have to start having these conversations. And I think that when you get to 40, 50, especially, and when you start to talk about perimenopause, everything's a symptom. That's the point where it's like, okay, I need a team of people. I need to start talking to more people about this. I need to stop living in my own silo and thinking I'm going to be able to figure this out.
Right. And that silo is dangerous.
Right.
Because how many, I know several, how many professional Black women died in the middle of their job
Right.
during the pandemic and post.
Right.
You know, I know a lot of them.
So we talked a lot about, you know, some of the things we know and what we've tried to figure out on ourselves. But I think what we have also come to realize is no one's checking for us. So this is part of the reason why we have to have this dialogue, because it's not going to happen with your doctor.
No.
Unless you press it. And I'm sure you have, but because this is something I've thought about, but I haven't had the nerve to say it, but I'm sure you have said to a doctor when they tell you, maybe try this, have you said to them, what experiences do your patients who look like me have with that?
I don't think I've ever said that.
That's shocking.
Because I actually know that they don't. I was like,
you don't want to hear it.
Right. I already know the answer.
Right.
I already, yeah. No, truthfully, no. I had a doctor, and I saw him frequently for headaches and so forth. He never once looked at me in the eye. And he would just come in, look at his laptop, type, and ask me barely only a few questions. And a few times he offered to do the test that he had already done, that he had in the computer. We're going to retest. It was a nerve test.
How long did you stay with this doctor?
I stayed with him because it's also very hard to find doctors.
Yeah.
And so, you know, try to get a referral.
Right.
Try to ask your friends.
Right.
And no one really has a really good answer because no one's happy with their doctor.
No one's happy with
their doctor. And it's not to bash doctors, because there are really good doctors out there. But there are doctors who are caring and looking at you and looking. You are a Black woman and you're individual.
Right.
They're not just looking at, this is the BMI, so that means you are overweight.
Right.
And that means you must need this medication.
Right.
Right? It's a doctor that's going to delve a little deeper, ask a few more questions,
right,
and really care about you holistically.
Right. That's interesting. Like, you know, yes, I'm overweight. That's what the BMI is going to tell you. But if you don't do anything more than that and you just start recommending things to me based on BMI that was, what was it, created, you know, during some war based on white men who were soldiers, like, get out of here.
No way relevant to
nothing.
us today.
It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
But I think that's what we know going in. We know that the likelihood of us seeing a woman of color who's a doctor is very low. It being a Black woman of color
will be
even lower. African American, even lower. Okay, so we already know that's happening. We also already know they're not thinking about, no doctor's really thinking about the unique experiences of being a Black woman in America and what that looks like, feels like. And that's why I think it's so hard for all of us too with our healthcare system. And like you said, how hard it is to find a doctor. Next, if this doctor picks up and leaves,
we're all in trouble.
I'm starting back at ground zero.
Right. Because how long did it take you to find? How many doctors had you gone through?
Girl, I just had a call. One called me yesterday for a follow-up appointment. I said, there will be no follow-up.
Right.
I will not be following up. But, you know, I think that that's why we need to talk about this, because other people shouldn't hold so much power over our health. Yeah. We need to take that power back, and we need to feel like if this doctor walked out tomorrow, it doesn't actually matter. I have a voice. I can advocate for myself. I'll find someone else. It's unfortunate, but it will be okay, right? We have that kind of buying power anywhere else in life. We need to have it about our bodies.
I think about the many times I've been told you're overweight.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think about, me and my wife go to a cardiologist. We go to the same exact cardiologist, and our weight probably about a year ago was the exact same weight. Every single time I went to the cardiologist, he told me that I was overweight and I needed to lose weight and things were going in the wrong direction. And every time she went, he never once mentioned her weight. And she would be like, I don't understand why he keeps asking you to lose weight, and I know I need to lose weight, and at no point. But it was because for him, we were two different, it's a white woman, and oh no, she's okay. And there was this Black woman, and maybe I don't have a history of heart disease in my family. I don't have a history. There's certain things I don't have. I don't have high blood pressure. But yet he was like, you need to be this weight.
Mm. Yeah, I just had my first experience where someone asked me in the doctor's office, asked me if I was open to taking measures and having conversations about my weight. I'd never. Most times people just presume,
Right.
So I'm guessing, like, you're trying to lose weight?
Mm-hmm.
Like just this presumption, like I'm sure you're trying and failing is basically the presumption.
Right.
Because they're saying you're fat and asking me if I'm trying in the same breath.
Right.
And I was really shocked because because of the way they framed it, it was the first time I really heard like, oh, you're actually asking me like to have a conversation about this versus just telling me likely this is what you need to do. Likely you've tried it and you're not good at it and you're failing. But also not even like, and I can help you. Just like, oh, okay, so going out of here, you probably need to lose weight, right? I think that the idea of someone being open to help you on your journey and help you on your terms is a novel thing that I don't think we often experience when we're going to see the doctors.
And that shame thing it's a thing. We don't want to admit that we are all in some ways struggling, particularly as Black women navigating a world that does not always see us.
And that's where I had to start is like, girl, you don't got this. And you need to push pause and you need to open up your circle because you don't got it.
Okay, and that would be the end of this episode. I don't hear a lot about this because I think there's a part of it that we're ashamed of.
Yeah, I think the getting out of our own heads is important. Being able to have a conversation with other individuals who are like-minded and really just sitting and accepting the fact that the generation before us didn't have this. None of it. Didn't have the resources we have, didn't have the information we have. So this is the first time this is, I think we need to understand that the implications for all of us, are that, we're doing this all ourselves and figuring it out ourselves. And we got to support each other in it.
Yeah, and it's funny you talk about the generation. I think about, we talked about before, how did you find out, about period? How did you figure out that? How did you figure out when no one's talking about perimenopause. No one talked about your period.
No.
It was just like, figure it out.
Right.
Here's a pad, don't get pregnant. That was my household, right? And so and it all goes back to shame.
Yeah.
It's, we don't want to have these conversations. We're not comfortable in these conversations.
Right.
So we all are in our back to the silo trying to figure it out on our own. That's good.
So I think where I'm excited about this conversation is there just needs to be more. And yes, we're not experts, but more people having conversations, destigmatizing the health and personal health and talking about it, getting the shame, like having a conversation about the shame, acknowledging the shame, but also not sitting in it, I think is what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, it's Jessica. Thanks for listening to Girl Call Me. If you have something to add or a story to share, come on over to Instagram or Facebook and join the conversation. Also, make sure you follow and subscribe Girl Call Me. You don't want to miss when we release new episodes. Thanks for listening.